Back in January of this year, a wonderful, normal, vibrant 16-year-old boy named Corey jumped off a 6-story building and killed himself. He committed suicide. This is a tragedy that should never have happened. Let me show you this boy's picture. That was Corey Walgren of Naperville, Illinois. And I apologize, it's probably not a real clear picture, but you can see what this boy looks like. He was happy, healthy. In his second year of high school, he was 16 years old. He was a honor student in his school. He had everything going for him. And he killed himself. And I'm going to tell you why. Let me read you this article. The article is entitled, They Scared Him to Death. They scared him to death when Maureen Walgren, his mother, of Naperville, Illinois, said this, referring to the conversation that school officials and law enforcement had with her 16-year-old honor student son, Corey. She meant it literally. Corey was at lunch on a normal school day in his high school this past January when he was called into the office. Waiting for him was the campus dean and a police officer. They questioned him about what was alleged to be an image on his phone of a consensual sexual encounter with a female classmate, also 16. The accusation was possession of and possibly sharing child pornography, which is absolutely insane. Evidence strongly suggests that the threat of being registered as a sexual offender on the state's public registry was made. Only at that point were attempts made to contact his parents. Way after the fact did they contact his parents, way after these threats. Corey was told that his mother was on the way to school and he was left alone to wait for her. So his mother was coming to get him. At some point before she arrived, Corey left. Leaving his car at school, he walked a mile and threw himself off a 6-story parking garage. This is sickening. His death was not instantaneous, so he suffered. But it came before his mother could get to him and be with him in his dying moments. Before his mother could get there, the boy died. As it turned out, the images on the phone were so black that nothing could be seen. Even though audio of the encounter was discernible, police records indicate they would not have pressed charges after all, and I'm sure none of us believe that. If only they had waited until the investigation was finished before they threatened him with child pornography and the registry, the story may well have had a different ending. Corey would be with us today. Corey was an excellent student. He was a good athlete and a popular young man. He had everything going for him. Over 2,000 people attended his funeral. Very popular child. He was fortunate to have involved, supportive parents and to have been raised in a loving, supporting home. He was a sweet, friendly, well-liked high school junior who was planning with those parents which colleges to visit in order to narrow down his application choices. He had never been in any trouble at all. This was not a troubled child, never any trouble at all in his life. Just the weekend before, he had talked to his parents about his choice to have a sexual encounter, his first, at this point in his life, which is pretty normal, as we all know, for a 16-year-old boy. And he recognized that it was not the wisest of decisions because of the very irrational so-called sex offense laws that we live under now in the U.S. It is a decision that has been made by countless high school students over countless years, as a lot of us know. Many of them reached the same conclusion that Corey was reaching. Many of them have done what we hope for all our children to learn from their mistakes and unwise decisions and so on. Sadly, sad almost beyond words, that it is something that Corey will never be able to do. This took me myself months to even be able to talk about this, and now that I can, I want to reach out to the society and to the public all in all areas and support this child and support this family, and also to talk about what's going on, what we need to change. Um, First of all, this was a tragedy. This obviously we can see that this should have never have happened. It was handled wrong. The laws are irrational. Um, this child did nothing wrong at all. It touches me because I'm a parent. I have a 17-year-old son, and a lot of you do out there as well. Can you imagine this happening to you, to your children, to somebody that you know? This is wrong, and sometimes until that happens to you, you don't realize the impact of these things. That's why we're bringing it to all of your attention. In a lot of our eyes, this boy has done nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. He broke no laws. He's very innocent. The age of consent in this country is 16 years old. He was 16. He had sent a text, probably of some nudity or whatever, to his consensual 16-year-old girlfriend. She was also 16 and consensual. He wasn't sending a picture of child pornography to a kid or something like this, or to an adult even. Um, this law itself is irrational. This child should never have been charged, even threatened to be charged with this type of offense. It has nothing to do with child pornography. It was not child pornography. To even to make a law like this in our country that affects our children because they're just children is irrational. We've all been 16 years old. We know what that's like. We're not adults. We can't be held responsible as adults. To charge children in this country with adult crimes as children is totally irrational and totally sickening. 16 years old, we make irrational decisions. We do. We probably all done it. We do things we think are silly, or we're trying to learn about life. We're trying to grow. We make decisions that are not always the right thing to do. In this case, it wasn't even a bad thing. He hurt no one. He did no damage to anyone. He was basically living his own private life. Doing something in private, probably for the first time, with his girlfriend, and now he's dead. And this is horrible. This is sickening. And I can guarantee you that this is not the only child. You can look up in past cases. Many children in our country have been affected by these irrational, sickening laws. These sexually oppressive, sickening so-called sex offender laws that we live under today in the U.S. To give you, some of you may know, have heard about this some years ago, as an example how sickening this has become and how out of control our country's become with these ridiculous issues involving sex, and especially involving our children. A few years ago, a 6-year-old boy they were threatening to charge with a sexual offense as a sex offender because he had pinched his female classmates, pinched his female classmate, 6 years old also, on the buttocks in his classroom, which had nothing to do with sex. It was total child's play. Yet his mother or something, or her mother had complained or something, and they were going to charge a 6-year-old child as a sex offender. That's how sick we have gotten in this country. What we've all probably grown up with, what we used to all know as normal and engaged in normal sexual experimentation as a child into our teen years, especially more into our teen years. Sexual experiments, experimentation, learning, experiments, and so on, are now considered sexual offenses. They're crimes. They're considered sexual crimes. Now, how do you charge a child who has a sexual experimentation with another child with a crime? This is sickening. These are the things that we need to change in the United States because it's affecting all of us. It didn't just kill Corey. It's probably killed other children. It's affecting other children. It's affecting their families, their parents. Parents are afraid. They're so afraid. I'm afraid as a parent. I can't even teach my son sex education without worrying he's going to get charged with some sex offense or something, or maybe I will, And parents are worried for themselves. They're worried for their children. And so they have to keep all this so secretive, and this is all wrong. This is wrong for the children. And it's scary. It really is. What we are doing here in the U.S. with these sex offense laws, due to certain groups and and so on that are, for instance, John Walsh of America's Most Wanted. He's one of the worst that have only exacerbated this whole witch hunt type of situation that's developed against people labeled as sex offenders in this country. With his America's Most Wanted, and he created SORNA and created the registry, basically, and all these irrational laws that are affecting all of us, affecting our children, even, and the parents, and all of us as a whole in this country. And this needs to stop. We need to get this under control. Registry needs to be abolished. There are many states looking at this now to realize it's worthless. It's not stopping anything. It's not preventing anything. It's pretty useless. It's very expensive. It's costing our taxpayers millions of dollars for these programs, and they're doing nothing at all. And they're causing more harm than good. They're causing offenders a lot of difficulty trying to get places to live so they're not homeless, trying to get employment so they can support themselves and their families, and causing risk to innocent families. We've had offenders in this country be attacked, be assaulted, even be murdered in this country because of the registry being public. Then anybody can find out where they live and where they work and all this, and they have no privacy whatsoever, and their families aren't safe. It's not just the offenders. We've had attacks on the families and even our children out here. Have been affected in their schools by this. They get shunned from whole families get shunned from their neighborhoods, from their neighbors, from their work, from their schools, everything. And there's a lot of stress and a lot of humiliation that come down on not just the offenders, but a lot of innocent families and innocent children this is affecting. So these are the things that we need to change out there, and a lot of states are looking at doing that. So hopefully we'll see some changes, and we can all take part as well in doing that. Anyway, we need to understand why Corey committed suicide, and it was not because of what he did. He did nothing wrong. He committed no crime, broke no laws. He was being a kid, like we all have been, and had his whole life ahead of him. Now he's deceased, and this is wrong. There's a number of issues that killed Corey, and registry is one of them. The public registry needs to be abolished. We need to do that. The witch hunt in the last 4 decades, this witch hunt type of a vigilante situation against those labeled as sex offenders has developed in the last 4 decades. And continues to get observed, continues to get irrational, to get worse, to irrational extremes, and it doesn't ever get any better. A lot of the people that are creating these laws, a lot of people that are backing these laws, including a lot of the public, don't even realize half of what the issue is about. They know nothing about about sex offenders, about sex offenses. They go by what they've heard in the media. which are liars. They lie all the time. They exaggerate things. You really can't trust what you hear in the media, on the news. And they go by hearsay, what they hear from other people. A lot of times it's myth, it's rumors, it's lies that aren't even true. Now, if you like to learn, really, if you're one of those people that are somewhat ignorant on that subject and you want to judge sex offenders just because, and you really don't know anything about it, why don't you learn something about it? Look up my video here on YouTube about that's entitled "What Society Needs to Know About Sex Offenders," and it'll give you some of the truths. We lay out a lot of the myths and rumors and lies that people believe about sex offenders, and you can learn about the truths and the facts about offenses and about what it's really all about. And you may be surprised. A lot of people believe these myths, and they're not true, of course. And so the media is, of course, another factor involved. The media, is constantly fueling the fire of this sex offender hysteria in our country, and keep this hype going to get people to feed into this. And so they are much at fault for Corey's death and other problems we have in this country over this issue. The other thing is the stigma involved is enormous. Again, oftentimes people involved in the stigma against sex offenders know really nothing about the issues. And it's enormous. They can't oftentimes find a place to live. They can't find jobs. They can't support their family. They're shunned from their neighborhoods, and they know nothing about them. So a lot of offenders are simply looking at pornography, illegal pornography cases, things like that. Most of them aren't really hands-on offenses or child molesters or whatever people want to call them. And the offense thing is actually more kind of rare, and the really violent sexual murders and stuff, those are terrible things, but they're actually pretty rare. And so, but oftentimes public's opinion is that all sex offenders are really bad, violent, terrible people, and you got to be scared of them and all. And none of that's even true whatsoever. So the stigma alone is very a powerful thing that's destroying a lot of us and our families and our parents and children and so on. So the things that killed Corey were this: he didn't kill himself because of what he did. It had nothing to do with it. He killed himself because, and it's right in that article I just read to you, he killed himself because of the fear of this registry, because the stigma behind this label is the sex offender label is so enormous that everybody knows about it. Kids hear about it from all sources, whether it's parents or peers or the media or whatever, in the schools, whatever. And so they're scared. And again, they're scared. The children in this country are scared. The parents are scared for the children. And we see why. And it's pretty obvious why. I'm sure a lot of you out there watching this video now are probably pretty scared. And again, I understand because I'm a parent. And these are the type of things we have to be careful of in the country that we live in because of these sexual suppressive type of so-called sex offense laws that can crop up against us and that we have to live with and our children have to live with. So anyway, that's why Corey committed suicide, because of those fears and because of the registry. He was afraid. Everybody hears about the registry and, oh my God, now he's going to be a sex offender and so on. And this poor 16-year-old boy, this great kid, had a girlfriend, everything, and now his family has to suffer, his girlfriend has to suffer. We all have to suffer for Corey, and because he suffered, because of irrational, sickening so-called sex offense laws that we have in this country, and they need to change, and we need to change it now. We can no longer sit back and be afraid. We can't be afraid of this any longer. We have to start fighting back. We can't sit and put up with this and worry about and fear, be in fear for ourselves and our children over these stupid sex offense laws. We have to fight back now, and we can all take part in doing that. Let me tell you about two. First of all, a lot of you might be happy to know that there are a lot of advocacy groups in this country that are aware of these irrational sex offense laws, and they are doing something about it. They're doing some wonderful work out there. One of them is called NARSOL. That's NARSOL. It's the National Association for Rational Sex Offender Laws, and they're doing wonderful work out there all across the country. They're starting groups all across the country, support groups for families and of offenders and for offenders to go and discuss these issues and to get together as advocates and to do something about them and to make changes in a lot of these irrational laws. I would suggest look those groups up. Look this group up. Join a group. Start a group in your area, and you can do a lot of things. You can contact your senators, your governors, your mayors, your lawmakers, legislators. Get this out to the public. Get the truth and the facts out to the public and to each other about what this is really all about and how it's harming us and how things like the registry and these other irrational laws are actually harming us now. They're killing our children. Sure, we have to protect our kids. That's obvious, but we've been doing it in a very wrong way. Obvious. This is obvious now that the laws we created, they're backfiring. They may have been created with the thought that they were going to help or help protect someone. This is not what has happened. Now they're going the other way. We're destroying ourselves. We're destroying our families. We're killing our children. So we need to stop this. We need to stop. We need to take a step back. We need to review all of these irrational laws, change them to rational laws that are safe for all of us. We need to do things that are different. The registry needs to be abolished, plain and simple, to protect all of us, protect our children. That needs to be cut out. The witch hunt, we need to get the knowledge out to the people, to society, about what sex offense is really all about. Most people don't know. And to change people's thinking. Sex offenders aren't all violent, dangerous, crazy people. They're just like you and me. They're like all of us. They're normal. It's just they had a problem in their life. A lot of them had problems in their life that led to what they did. Someone didn't. Someone didn't just looked at pornography on the internet and all of a sudden got in trouble for it. These things happen, and so we need to understand the knowledge and the truth behind all these issues. And the media. The media is the media. There's nothing we can do. Those people lie. They exaggerate. Not much we can do about that, obviously. But we can complain about it, though. We can make them know. We can let them know. And that's what we need to do. We need to fight back. We need to get angry. We need to fight back. To the key people out there, to politicians and so on, to get these things into court. That's what these groups are doing. They're taking a lot of these issues to court, and they're winning. Off and on, a lot of cases are won. A lot of these laws are being changed, but they're slow, and we need power. We need more people, and there's power in numbers. So the more people we have together to change these stupid, irrational sex offense laws, the faster we can get that done. So we all need to speak our voice out there and not be afraid to be heard. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And another group is called CURE. It's C-U-R-E. It's the Citizens United for Reform of Errants or something. I can't remember, but look up that group as well. Get involved. And they both have newsletters. They keep you informed about all the laws they're challenging and how they're being changed and what we're doing for our children like Corey and stuff in this country to protect them against these irrational sex offense laws that we have to live under. So anyway, I guess that's it. I hope you'll all take a stand out there and get involved. Support Corey and his family. You can look up that article on the internet if you want to read more about it, and probably many other articles just like it. But take a stand, support his family, support that. Write their police department, tell them how they did things wrong. Write their governors, write their senators in Illinois. Tell them we need to make changes. We need to put an end to this registry. Tell them we've killed this child. You know, these many different people and different sources were responsible for the murder, the suicide of this young 16-year-old boy. Again, a tragedy that should never have happened, and many others. So good luck to y'all. Uh, keep informed. Watch my videos. Keep informed. I'll keep you informed with what's going on out there. And and good luck. And I hope you take a stand to protect yourself, protect your children, and work to changing a lot of these irrational so-called sex offense laws and sexually suppressive laws that we have to live under. Uh, anyway, thank you very much, and good luck to y'all, and may God bless us all.